He was 11 years old when a doctor sat across from his parents and told them their son would stop growing. The very thing that made him different from every other child on the pitch was not a gift, it was a diagnosis. The world would one day call him the greatest of all time. But in that small room in Argentina, all anyone could see was a boy whose body was failing him before he had even begun. He was born on the 24th of June, 1987, in Rosario, a gritty industrial city in the Santa Fe province of Argentina. The streets there did not produce legends, they produced survivors. From the moment he could walk, the boy lived with a ball at his feet. His grandmother was the one who first saw it, something in the way he moved that did not belong to ordinary children. He joined the local club Grandoli at the age of 6, and almost immediately coaches noticed that something about him was different. He was smaller than every player on the pitch, and yet somehow he was always the last one the ball could escape. But at the age of 10, everything changed. A routine checkup revealed that his growth hormone levels were critically low. Without expensive treatment, his body would not develop the way it needed to. The dream was suddenly in danger of ending before it had truly started. The treatment cost $900 a month. In a working-class family in Rosario, that was not money they had. It was money that simply did not exist. The local club, Newell's Old Boys, where the boy had moved and was already dazzling everyone who watched him, could not fund the treatment either. For a time, it seemed as though the story would end here, in paperwork and silence. Then, a letter arrived from Europe. A club on the other side of the world had heard about the boy on a phone call that lasted no longer than a few minutes, and they wanted to see him play. The family boarded a plane for the first time in their lives. If you are watching this and you have ever felt the world was not built for someone like you, then you already understand what that flight meant to a small boy from Rosario. And if you want to know how every chapter of this story ends, follow this channel. There are more untold stories waiting for you. The trial in Barcelona lasted only a matter of days. One of the club's directors, so moved by what he saw on the pitch, reportedly wrote the terms of an agreement on a paper napkin because he could not wait for a formal contract. The club agreed to fund the hormone treatment in full. But moving an entire family from Argentina to Catalonia was not simply a logistical challenge, it was a rupture. Not every member of the family made the journey, and the loneliness that followed the boy into his new life was something he would carry for years. He entered the famous youth academy, known to the world as La Masia, at the age of 13. He was the smallest player in every age group he entered. He was also, almost immediately, the best. The hormone injections had to be self-administered every single night. While other boys his age were sleeping soundly, he was learning to push a needle into his own leg. He never once complained. By the time he was 16 years old, the club was already running out of youth categories to place him in. He had dismantled every age group above his own. The only place left was the first team. On the 1st of May, 2005, at 17 years old, he came on as a substitute in a league match. Within minutes, he had scored. The stadium fell silent for a single second before erupting in a sound no one there had ever heard before. But with the spotlight came a shadow. In the 2006 World Cup, representing Argentina for the first time on the greatest international stage, he was largely kept on the bench. The country that was supposed to embrace him seemed uncertain of what to do with him. The 2008 Champions League final in Moscow would become one of the defining nights of his generation. He was 20 years old, and the world finally stopped asking questions and started watching in silence. In 2009, he won everything there was to win in a single calendar year. The Ballon d'Or trophy, awarded to the world's best player, finally belonged to him. He wept on the stage, not from joy, from relief. Between 2009 and 2012, he won 4 consecutive Ballon d'Or awards, something that had never been done before. Critics ran out of vocabulary, commentators ran out of comparisons, and yet Argentina, always Argentina. 4 Copa America finals, 4 times the heartbreak, a nation's love that felt at times indistinguishable from a nation's burden. In 2016, after yet another Copa America final defeat, he walked to a microphone and announced his retirement from international football. He was 28 years old. He was completely broken. He came back. Of course he came back. A boy who had injected himself every night just to be allowed to grow was not capable of simply walking away from the thing he loved most. In 2021, at the age of 33, he finally lifted the Copa America trophy for Argentina. He collapsed to the turf and could not stand up for nearly a minute. Nobody tried to help him up. Some moments need to be felt completely. 1 year later, in Qatar, came the moment the entire world had been waiting for across 20 years of football. The 2022 World Cup final is already considered by many to be the greatest single match ever played. He scored twice in normal time, watched France pull the match back to 3 goals each, and then in the penalty shootout, he stepped up first. 35 years old, carrying the weight of an entire nation on his back, he placed the ball on the spot, and he did not look at the goalkeeper once. When the final whistle confirmed Argentina as world champions, he did not run. He did not shout. He simply looked upward, toward a part of the sky that was his alone, and mouthed something no microphone was ever close enough to catch. He had spent decades being measured against others, against history, against expectation, against the ghost of a boy a doctor once said would never fully grow. He had answered every single one of them. At Inter Miami in the United States, now in the final chapter of his playing career, he still runs onto the pitch before training starts. No staff, no cameras, just him and the ball, the way it has always been since a grandmother watched a small boy from a doorway in Rosario. The records will be studied for generations, but the real story was never about the records. It was about a boy who was handed an impossible amount of doubt and chose every single morning to do something remarkable with it. Every story on this channel begins exactly here, with a life the world almost missed. If this story moved you, follow this channel now and stay close, because the next untold story of a footballer who changed everything is already waiting for you.